Okay, so I don't have a PowerPoint today because, as you'll see, there's not so much text that we're going to be analyzing today. But today's class, I think you'll find it very interesting. It's very deep. I prepared a talk that the Rebbe gave on this week's Torah portion, Parshat Korach, a talk that the Rebbe delivered in 1971. Very, very, very beautiful, a very beautiful message from the Rebbe on this week's Parsha. So, I'm sure you're familiar with the story in this week's Parsha. The Parsha is named after him, Parshat Korach, right? The Torah relates how this individual, Korach, gathers a whole following of people to protest to Moshe. And what's the basis of his protest? He tells Moshe essentially, why are you making yourself greater than everyone else? Or in the words of the pasuk, why madua tisnasu al kahal Hashem? Why are you raising yourself up above everybody else? So Korach was essentially challenging the authority of Moshe and Aaron, his brother. And Korach's argument was very legit. And Korach said, Hashem himself told us that kedoshim to you, that we are all holy. And there's a divine spark, there's a neshama, a piece of Hashem within each and every person. So why does any one person consider themselves spiritually superior to anybody else? Aren't we all holy? Aren't we all the same? And if we're all the same, then why do we need a Moshe? Why is Moshe telling us what Hashem wants? Why does a Jew need a Moshe to teach him Torah? Why does a Jew need an Aaron, an exclusive high priest, to perform the service in the Beis Hamikdash in his stead? Every Jew possesses a soul that is a divine piece of Hashem. Can't every Jew serve Hashem alone? Why the need for certain people to be more elevated, to be exalted, to be held in higher esteem than others? And the Torah describes how Korach gathered a huge supportive people, and they brought Moshe up for the challenge. And the Torah, the storyline goes that Moshe said, okay, we will have, there will be like a test, right? Korach and his 250 followers are going to bring up an incense offering to Hashem, and Aaron is going to bring up an incense offering to Hashem. And whichever incense offering Hashem accepts, that will be a sign whom Hashem chooses and how Hashem wants the world to be. And we know the end of the story. These offerings were brought. Hashem accepted Aaron's offering, and the earth opened up and swallowed up Korach and his whole household. And that's the way the story goes. And P.S., I have to say that if you're following the news in Israel, there was something extremely creepy that happened this week in Israel, in a parking lot. Exactly, Anita. There's literally like the earth opens up and cars just fell into. I'll send you. It is wild, and this video was being shared, and everyone was saying, "Wow, how appropriate!" Parshat Korach, the earth opens up and swallowed. It was crazy, but anyway, this is the story of this parsha, and we know, because we've been learning long enough, we know that Chassidus teaches, and the Rebbe taught us that there is nothing in the Torah that is recorded superfluously. Like everything that we read in the Torah is intentional and it's relatable. And in this case, Korach, the entire Parsha is named after him. So there must be a message that we can learn from Korach, and somehow this story must be relevant to each and every one of us at all time periods. And what I want to say as well is that perhaps we can all relate to Korach's argument on some level. And the fact that Korach's argument is recorded in the Torah means that there's some legitimacy to it. There's some credibility to it. What do I mean? We all perhaps may think at some point or another, come on, aren't we all the same? Shouldn't Hashem be treating us all the same? Right? Can't we not relate to Korach on some level? Korach aspired to create a society that was free and void of distinctions, free of borders, free of categories. We're all the same, and we're all divine, and we're all one. Done, right? So imagine there's no Moshe, and there's no Aaron, and there's no Kohanim, and there's no Leviim, and there's no Israelites. There's no religious authority. We all Jews live as one. Why the need for distinctions? Why the need for categories? Why the need for borders? Right? And there is something about Korach's vision that resonates deeply in many people's hearts. It touches a chord. And I think that perhaps his ideology is what many of our youth believe today, right? Why do we need authority? Why do we need distinctions? Why does Shem make that some people are better than others, right? So the Torah records Korach's ideas because there's a message that we can learn from it. And I want to share the Rebbe's beautiful interpretation, the Rebbe's beautiful explanation on this story. And this is Chassidus, this is Kabbalah, this is very deep. So please feel free at any point, if we need to tackle this together and analyze, feel free at any point to chime in here and unmute yourself. Chassidus explains that we all came from one source. Before creation, there was absolute unity. If you want to give the analogy of like a womb, we all originated in the womb of Hashem, so to speak, and we were a singular entity. There were no borders, there were no definitions, there were no distinctions, there were no difference. There was no heaven, there was no earth, there was no countries, there were no teachers, there were no students. We were all submerged in this singular unity of Hashem, complete Achdus Hashem. And on a very deep level, our neshama, each and every one of us, crave to recreate this wholesomeness in our life. On a deep level, we yearn for a time when we don't have distinctions. We don't have animal soul, godly soul, bad and good. We don't have all these divisions. We don't have all these separations. We yearn, each of us in our own way, yearn to go back to that pre-creation experience of Achdus Hashem, of unity. We want to imagine that we were never created, but we were created. We were created. And the idea that all souls are the same, right? What Korach's mistake that all souls are the same is actually not only Korach's mistake, but it's one of the mistakes of this modern new age spirituality. We are so used to thinking We've been conditioned to believe that definitions create barriers, and barriers create hatred. So we are convinced that to be spiritual means to have no borders. But the very act of creation, when Hashem created the world in the book of Bereshit, right? What did Hashem do? Hashem made borders. From unity came multiplicity. From the essence of Hashem. From one came an infinite amount of creation, right? From a single Hashem came this diverse universe. And so diversity, multiplicity, division is sewn into the very fabric of our existence. It's the way we were created. It's the way Hashem made us. No two people are alike. No two snowflakes are alike, right? There are tens of millions of different species of plants and animals in our world, and there are inherent divisions between people, divisions between species, divisions between male and female, divisions between body and soul, divisions between good and bad, divisions between nations and cultures and individuals. Why did Hashem create multiplicity? Why do we need this? Because the deepest unity is the unity found within diversity. Think about this for a minute. If we were all the same, then unity would be no big achievement because we're all exactly the same. So the deepest level of unity is achieved when all the different components are each given a distinct role in creation, and we're all working together in Hashem's beautiful orchestra. And this is like a symphony, right? Like notes in a ballad. Each of us represent a unique and distinct note, and together we recreate the symphony, not by singing the same note, but by expressing our individual note. So this is the greatness of Hashem. If you just meditate on this for a moment, that in Hashem's infinite self is manifested in duplicity. So the oneness of Hashem is found in all the multiplicity. That's the beauty of our world. That there's division, and in the division we can bring achdus, we can bring unity. So for unity of humankind, we need one God. But for God's unity to be complete, we need human diversity. We need that each individual fulfills his or her role in existence, and every person is sharing with others their unique contribution. Everyone has something special to contribute. Everyone has wisdom to share. And this is true unity. This is achdus. And this concept rings so true and so deep. Think about, on a political level, on a sociological level, right? What our youth are talking about. Think about the idea of socialism, right? What does Torah say about socialism? Torah believes that we bring true achdus, true unity comes from diversity, from multiplicity, from division, from people being different from one another, not the same. And this is the truth of, this is the essence of who we are, the essence of our existence. The essence of who we are is that our role as humans is not to deny that there are distinctions, but rather to create types of borders and boundaries that will foster respect, that will foster unity, that will foster love. So we all can be different, but we have respect for one another. We have love for one another. And this is the message of this week's Parsha. To actually get comfortable with boundaries, get comfortable with it, get comfortable with divisions, because we all, Hashem created the world this way, that we all have a different role. There's the role of a Rebbe. There's the role of a rabbi. There's the role of a rebbitzin. There's the role of a woman. There's the role of a man. And every person's role is important. Every person contributes to this beautiful world. So that's a very, very deep idea. And this also helps us understand a little bit the role of a Rebbe, the role of a tzaddik in our life, right? What was so terrible about Korach's complaint, right? Like, it sounds legitimate. Yes, we're all holy. Each of us possess that spark of godliness. Why should one person be exalted? Why do we need a Rebbe? Why do we need the role of why do we need hierarchy? Some Jews are Kohanim, some Jews are Leviim, some Jews are Israelites, right? Why did Hashem support Moshe and Aaron here? So if we understand the dynamic of the way the world works, and we understand that how divisions and boundaries are so part and parcel of the way Hashem created the world, we will also understand the dynamic of leadership, and it makes sense now. Yes, the entire nation is holy, but to express that holiness, we need motivators. We need people that are going to inspire us. But we need leaders. We need a Moshe. We need a Rebbe. A Rebbe, a leader, empowers people to realize their potential, to express their potential, right? Without leadership, right, we may possess beautiful qualities, but we may fail to manifest them because we're not motivated on our own. So yes, even though all Jews possess a godly spark, it is the responsibility of Moshe. It's the responsibility of a Rebbe of the generation. The Rebbe is the Reish B'nai Israel, the head. It's his responsibility or her responsibility to bring that godliness into revelation. So yes, certainly every Jew possesses a potential, but we know, because we know from the Torah very well, that there are many occasions where we fail to live up to our potential. And who was there to catch us when we needed it? Moshe. It's Moshe's leadership that motivates us to push forward, to express who we really are. And remember that Moshe is not given his position in order to, relish in his accomplishments or to receive kavod, to receive honor. He doesn't need all that. He doesn't want it. The Moshe of every generation is charged with a mission, and the Moshe of the generation, the Rebbe of generation, follows that mission faithfully. They don't think of themselves. It's all about the people. What could we do for the people? And this is not a 1 day or a 1 year responsibility. It was an entire lifetime that Moshe, the Rebbe of the generation, thinks about the people. And we know this. We know this is not merely a story of the past, but in every generation, there's a Moshe, there's a leader of the generation. In our generation, our leader is the Rebbe. And even though the Rebbe may not physically be with us, the Rebbe is still leading us and guiding us, and his connection lives, we feel his presence You can feel his presence anytime you meet anyone that's connected to the Rebbe or anyone that learns the Rebbe's teaching. Anytime you walk into Chabad house, you know that the Rebbe is continuing to bless people, to be there for people, to guide people. There's amazing, amazing miracles that 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 people experience after going to the Eihel, after writing letters. So we have a Rebbe, not in the way we wish we had, not in the physical form, but we have a Rebbe who we can connect to, who we can take guidance from. And yes, we can continue, even in our generation, to seek mentors, to seek leaders, to connect with people who will inspire us, who will motivate us to utilize our positive qualities, right? And it's not about being submissive to somebody else's authority. It's not what a Rebbe, it's not the role of a Rebbe at all. But the Rebbe is there just to enhance our life and to motivate us to do more. And I want to say that by the same token, leadership is not restricted to a select few, but we also, each and every one of us, like the Rebbe says in the Sikha, each and every one of us can be a leader in our own home, in our own workplace, in our own social environments. We all serve as leaders from time to time, right? And when we are given such a position, we can emulate the selfless dedication shown by Moshe, shown by our Rebbe, to nurture and to motivate and to inspire just for the sake of being there for another individual. So that is the message that I took from this week's Parsha. And with that, I'm going to conclude.